Hello, this is Nikol Peterman of ZenRed NYC, and welcome to The Unstoppable Artist, where you're learning how to step into your full creative power, make great money, and get all the recognition you deserve. Make sure that you have got your Unstoppable Artist binder or journal, because we are doing live processes here that are going to create a transformation in you and allow you to truly own your brilliance. It's time for you to be unstoppable. So today, guys, is a really, really special day for me because our guest today is the brilliant Dr. Rodrigo Imana. And this man has literally helped me transform my life this year. I had a horrible neck injury and back injury this year, and he has brought me back from not dancing for about 3 months, which is the longest in my life I haven't danced. And, I saw one doctor who said, oh, you need to get an MRI. And there was even talk of like surgery, and none of that was necessary. None of it was necessary. And Dr. Imana has been an absolute healer for me. But what is so powerful about his work is that it really is getting you more in tune with yourself. And this has had a huge impact on me and the work that I do with my business and my clients and being an artist. So that said, I just want to introduce you to Dr. Rodrigo Imana. He grew up in La Paz, Bolivia, and is a graduate of Life Chiropractic College West. He's married and practices using the NUCA, which is National Upper Cervical Chiropractic Association, chiropractic technique along with meditation. He loves to dance and has been into Bolivian folk dance since he was 10 years old and loves sharing his culture via dancing. Having struggled during birth as a preemie, he's always had a deep yearning to know what it was that allowed him to survive. When he realized that NUCA restores the expression of life to the body, he knew he was home. Thus, his mission in life is to expand people potential to express life and heal. Rodrigo believes that humanity is evolving towards greater understanding that health and the full expression of life comes only from within. The beautiful expression of love and life is innate to our existence. This is maximized by being in a constant state of inspiration, which can be experienced by a sustained NUCA adjustment. Welcome, Rodrigo. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. Yes. I'm excited to have you here. Thank you so much, Nikol. This is really exciting. I know it happened kind of last minute, but I'm here to be of service and I love it.
I'm so thrilled. And it's funny because for our audience members, a couple weeks ago, actually, Dr. Imana put me in front of the camera so that I could give a testimonial for him. So this is just like such a beautiful loop of energy, both of us being there for each other. So I just want to, of course, I want to tell the whole world about you and what you do because you've had such a great impact on me and my life. So for our audience that doesn't know you, I would love for you to just share how you came to the work that you do and why it's so important.
Sounds good. So it kind of goes into what was already kind of read. I always start my talk by letting people know how I literally came to this world, being born as a preemie. It was an interesting time because I was pronounced clinically dead, like soon after I was born. And they said, okay, that's it. And then they rushed me to this incubator because I came back to life all of a sudden after a few minutes. I was in an incubator for about a month. And through that time, that kept happening. There were times where I was pronounced dead again and then came back to life, and then a priest came by and said, oh, that's it, gave me the blessing. But I mention it because, and I've had other instances where that kept happening, other times of almost dying through my life. And I knew that this concept of expression of life was crucial to who I am. And since I was little, I always had this question of like, what is this expression of life? How can you expand that through an individual? How can you manifest that, in a way where you can grow within that, right? Not just living, but really experience life to its 100%. And with all of this and having questioned all of that, chiropractic was really one of the only professions that had several books written about this concept of expression of life. So I wanted to look into, okay, where in chiropractic, because there was a point where I didn't like chiropractors. I thought they were just going to do like pop and twist and things. Yeah, it was interesting. But I found that if you have proper brain-body connection, if you are able to reposition the skull precisely and make sure that this nerve system, this light that functions through the body, is able to be at its 100% in connection and alignment, that this expression of life is enhanced and be at its 100%. So when I got that and experienced that myself, I knew that this was it, and I was home. This is what I dedicate my life to. So here I am.
Thank you so much. You know what? I've heard this story before, and every time it just blows me away. It's really incredible. I know that you and I were having this whole conversation around body wisdom and around alignment. And it can be so easy in this world today for us to just not know, right? We're too busy with maybe our to-do lists or the grocery shopping or the laundry or, our computers, our smartphones, that there can be just a total shutdown of literally not knowing what's going on. And so I would love for you to talk about this a little bit, because I know you're going to be taking us through a powerful process. And I would love for you to explain why it's so important, especially today, for artists to really be in touch with what's going on with their body.
So just like how I explained, that experiences in our lives lead us to where we're at, sometimes consciously or unconsciously, and for me, my experience that I mentioned was me being born and almost dying, leading me to find what this expression of light is and being that a question in my life. So similarly, we have our body letting us know what's really happening, where in our life, because everything that we experience, whether positive or negative, emotional or physical, is somehow within our bodies, regardless if it happened a long time ago. Okay. And each cell has memory, and everybody knows muscle memory, cell memory. So we tend to store different experiences within our bodies that are constantly trying to teach us something. And what's important is to be able to ask the questions. And just like we don't have time sometimes, a lot of doctors don't have time to really take the time and ask a specific question. So why are you experiencing this? And I'm talking about symptoms first, right? Because that's kind of like something that we can correlate. And then the symptomatology is like, why are you experiencing this? Why are you having this discomfort or this pain? So it's important to not just say like, oh, I just don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to have it because it's impeding me in my creativity, because it's stopping me in being able to be my 100%. But you want to have a relationship with it. It's there for a reason, and it's teaching you something, and it's being able to ask the right questions to access it, where it actually comes from, why is it even there, and then and this can be correlated with all different areas of life. So the process we're going to go into is asking these questions. We're going to use a few examples, and but the important is to find the major why of what you're experiencing in your body is letting you know about your life.
Yeah, and I just want to paint a couple of examples for our audience members that might be like, this isn't me. Then I think I would probably ask, do you get headaches? Do you find that you have jaw tension? Do you have a knot in your shoulder? Is there something that you've been experiencing in your body that's been chronic? Like, especially for our audience members that use their body for their art, whether they're performance artists or something like that. I think that this is so, so valuable, because I'm sure all of you, if you just took a moment, can think what that thing is that you probably deal with your body all the time, and you've just kind of been doing this off to the side and then just kind of like shoving through, but it's not going away. So I just wanted to kind of like paint that, because sometimes you're gonna be like, I'm fine, my body feels great. And it's like, okay, but what about last week when you couldn't do anything because you had a debilitating headache? or your stomach was in knots, and because of that you weren't able to, deliver or perform or have the conversation that mattered on that day. So that said, I'm going to put it in your hands. So go ahead and take us away.
Perfect. And seeing that you said that, we're going to use two examples. One's going to be a practical symptomatic approach, and then we're going to use one that doesn't necessarily attach to a symptom, but you can apply the same methodology to find this root kind of cause. Okay. And I actually gave a talk yesterday, kind of giving this whole example also. So we're going to use the same one. And it's something that I get sometimes, which is kind of chest tightness, kind of constriction. Sometimes it's hard for people to breathe, or they have some sort of knot or like a burning sensation in the mid-back or whatever that might be. First thing you want to do is first locate if something like that is happening. But then you want to describe, okay, and I usually do this with my patients, is, okay, can you just please describe what it feels like? And they may be like, well, it feels tight, it's hard around my chest, I can't breathe, I feel compressed. And every time I try to take a deep breath in, it's uncomfortable. So you want to use the words that you're describing the symptom to then say, where is that happening in your life? Where are you feeling constricted? Where is there perhaps no space, compressed? And if it is something that's stopping you within your creativity, that could be some other area. So first you identify it, and then you say, okay, I think it could be either in a relationship, it could be in a situation, it could be in just a circumstance, wherever it might be, you want to identify it. After you do that, you recognize where it's in the present, perhaps. Then you want to go into a little bit deeper. And this is where it gets interesting. You identify, you just describe what it looks like. Then you want to give it a color. It's tight, it's kind of heavy, it feels compressed. Okay, what color is that? That's kind of grayish, brown, a little dark. Okay, can you give it a smell? Yes, okay, it could be a little bit not a good smell, and I just don't like it. It's kind of darkish and not a good smell. It's okay, what feeling? It feels heavy, compressed. Okay, so you're giving it all these descriptions, and you want to identify it. It's okay, it's happening here, it's happening there. You see? Then you say, and once you get to that point, you truly feel that you're there, and you can close your eyes and you're almost inside of that concept of compression. We're just using this example. Then you say, how old are you? And that's when you're able to go into sometimes a very specific event that, may have been maybe when you were small. Okay, I was constricted. I wasn't being able to do what I wanted to do. Maybe my parents were, always controlling me. I wasn't able to be creative, or I wasn't able to do what I expressed, all of that. And then you start to find out how that response of being constricted served you at that point, meaning how your body went into this mode of like protection, and seeing how perhaps that was necessary at that point, but realizing how that also allowed you to become aware in other areas, right? And seeing how that's not the case anymore. And you want to start applying different exercises to kind of almost do the opposite. Because the first thing you got to recognize is when that happened, where it began, how it served you, and then recognize that that's no longer the case. Now, I did this with a lot of different type of symptomatologies. I had a lady who, she had a lot of tightness, and she had a lot of fibroids. Okay, these are kind of fibroids in the uterine in her case. And we always had to do a lot of stretches because she was always kind of like, and she was actually a dancer. And that was like an important part for her, was just always had to stretch a lot before she could dance, and stretch afterwards, a lot of tightness. And then she knew she had the fibroids. That was just part of the history. And then we went through this process And then at the end, I kept asking her, okay, what are you really protecting yourself from? And she's like, no, I'm okay. And I said, no, really, what are you really protecting yourself from? And I asked her a few times until she went into tears. For her, it turned out that she was molested, and she was molested as a child, and that was very emotional for her. And we went through this process on how that protection served her at one point, and that's no longer the case. And very slowly, she started to apply that thought through her dancing, through her warming up, and she was able to slowly and then eventually not have to stretch as much. And she was doing really good very, very quickly.
Rodrigo, what was the new, I'm sorry, I just want to interject real quickly. What was the new thought that she started to apply that helped her with that?
The thought was just the awareness of that was then and this is now. So the present time consciousness of being able to recognize where you're at now, but also see where you've been, know what served you in the past, because the part that activates us to keep having that response is the amygdala in the brain. And that's kind of like the area of the brain that says, okay, you have to protect. So whatever it is that you've experienced that you now identified, you need to kind of rewire it, and being able to either give it a thought while doing the action that you want to do, in this case doing the expression of any art you may do, knowing that, okay, that was then and this is now, seeing how it served you at one point, and seeing how it was on the way, not in the way. Because then we were able to find very specific ways on how that actually served and how that actually allowed her to go into now when it has to do with the body. Because in her case, for example, she then recognized that if she didn't experience that, she wouldn't go into this protective mode, this tightness that then caused her to do a lot of stretches and movement, and now she loves the dancing. So she was now able to come to a point of being grateful of that experience that at one point she wanted to almost get rid of it. Once she balanced that out, she knew that it was on the way and not in the way. So it was an interesting component. So that methodology can apply to many different concepts. So if there's a lack of, let's say, this concept of creativity, right? And then you're saying, okay, I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if where you're at. Ask the same questions. Go into very deeply into that feeling, right? And do you find it? Is it emptiness that you're feeling? Do you feel alone? Do you feel not protected, right? What color would you give it? Well, dark place. But once you identify it, and sometimes it may help doing it with someone that may work, but you can also do it yourself. Then you ask, how old are you? And then you start to think, okay, where did I experience that at that age? And where was that? And you don't want to not stop asking until it comes up. And it'll come up to you. It'll be like, whoa, I forgot about that. And then you tune into that, and then you do the exercise to say, okay, how did it serve you then? How was that on the way? How is this somehow connected to how creative you are right now? And then instead of being something that's holding you, you'll use it as something that's going to fuel you, right? And being able to then propel you to that next level. It's really cool.
I absolutely love this, especially when you were saying on the way, not in the way, because the whole theme of this event is about being unstoppable. And I love this because it's using what's stopping us as the key to figure out how to move forward. And so this is such a beautiful mindset to understand that this is just part of the process, but it's not the thing that's actually blocking you.
Exactly. I use this concept of reality versus actuality. Okay, so in reality, we can say that we're agreeing that this is black through our filtered eyes, and we're agreeing that it's black, but in actuality, it's just energy. So when you only tune into what you're filtering through your senses in your life, you tune into and you tend to react to things if it's just your reality. If you tune into the actuality of just intelligence and wisdom and unlimited potential, you tend to act on things, right? So reacting versus taking action. So the example I used to explain that on practical terms, and this ties into the exercise. Let's say we have a little kid. So a little kid is probably about maybe 4 years old or something, wants to go down this slide, has to go all the way up and slide. And then the mom's saying, don't go all the way up, because when you go all the way up, you're going to fall. Don't do it. And the kid doesn't listen and goes all the way up, falls, and then hurts himself. And then the mom says, like, I told you not to go. And then the kid's crying. Yeah. And what happens is like has this traumatic moment. After the kid stops crying, goes around, keeps playing, everything's back to normal. The kid is now going back up again. And what happens is the kid freezes himself, like he's frozen. And then he looks at the mom, and then the mom says, yeah, you can go. And everything's okay. So what happens is when this kid is now maybe an artist and has reached a point, okay, I want to now do this. They unconsciously freeze themselves and look for outside reassurance, which is unconscious. Again, unless you're able to ask these questions that go back to that moment, then, it's something that we're not putting these barriers there, but they're unconsciously there from past experiences that sometimes lead this root that we just talked about, leads to all these branches. So sometimes a lot of people deal with the little branches and the immediate things that are, but sometimes you got to go down to the root. Where did this really come from? And that's another way of explaining on how the interconnectedness of how everything is connected. Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, you're preaching to the choir, of course. Mm-hmm. And this is a big reason why I resonate so much with it. But it's such a beautiful moment. And I hope that everyone is hearing that what Dr. Imana is saying is that you actually have everything you need. Like the answers to you stopping, when you procrastinated or you've given up or, you've binged watched for a week and not done anything and then beaten yourself up, like you actually have the answers and you have the ability to change this. That's the piece that's so powerful. And so that's why I love your story about the dancer and how it really was her just coming into an awareness that was the past, and it doesn't have to be my present. It doesn't have to be my future, that I can make a choice. And it's like for us to feel that sort of freedom in the moment, I mean, that's deeply empowering.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And again, like you said, it's all within you. It's just asking the right questions and being able, because some people have sometimes some fear of doing that. They're afraid to really go that deep into their past experiences. It's like, oh yeah, I don't want to remember that anymore. But give yourself permission to do that, because I think that's where a lot of the key things for us to fulfill ourselves and our lives comes from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know that to be able to continue this work, you've got a wonderful free gift for our audience that you would like to share with them today.
Yes. So there's going to be a lot of questions, because this is a topic sometimes when this happens, we're like, well, there's this and that. So it's really good to go through this with someone that's able to kind of guide you and ask these questions with you. Sorry. So I'm able to, what I'm offering is essentially a 1-hour session to really go through this with a lot of detail. I'll make sure to ask all the questions and make sure we're getting to that point. Okay, that's it. What actions can we now take to do that, right? And also along with this, it's also a value determination process, which is a process of making sure, okay, is this exactly the way that you want to express what you're expressing through your art? And that's another kind of session altogether. So it's identifying what's going on, where is this root cause that we just talked about, but then also what you can do about it, and are you in the right path through your current life and your values. So it's a 1 hour, it'll be a little bit kind of like intensive, but when I've done this, people like really just love it and they're very grateful.
That's beautiful. So for our audience, make sure that you click on the link below to be able to connect and take advantage of this consultation. And I can't say enough for the massive change that Dr. Imana has made in my life and what it's done for me. So, I mean, I literally came to him and my neck was like at a 9-degree angle. It was really, really intense. And I started healing and then had a like lower back thing. So, I mean, he has just been so phenomenal. And you always ask me these deeper questions. It's never just, okay, we're going to do an adjustment. Like, you're always like, what's going on in your life? And that has been so valuable for me because it really has helped me to stay on track with the work that I want to be doing as an artist. So click below, make sure that you connect with Dr. Imana. And what are other ways that people can connect with you? How can they find you?
So on Facebook, like all the talks that I do, they're there. So if you go to Human Potential Chiropractic and just like the page, then that's where you'll see all the classes that we've had, the one we just had yesterday. And we're also going to be putting those on YouTube. So all the classes, again, these classes may go into like brain-body connection, from stress to success, on spirituality, on emotions, on physicality. So yeah, we go into a lot of different topics. So YouTube or the Facebook will be good.
And that's Human Potential Chiropractic?
Yes.
Wonderful. Excellent. So the time always goes by way too fast, as always. And I'm curious, do you have a last thought that you would like to leave our audience with?
Yeah. Well, whatever it is that we've experienced in our lives, whether positive or negative, we are all worthy of love. We are all worthy of experiencing this life to its 100%. Because at the end of your life, you want to ask yourself, did I give my 100% with every that more people like Nikol, right? And give yourself permission to do that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Imana. I deeply appreciate you being here and sharing your beautiful wisdom for our audience. Make sure that you connect with Dr. Imana, get a consultation, find him on Facebook and on YouTube, and take the time to dive into what your body is literally there to share with you so that you can truly become unstoppable. This is Nikol Peterman of Zen Red NYC. Thank you so much for being here on The Unstoppable Artist. This has been a phenomenal experience for me, and I'm deeply, deeply grateful for you to be here with me, Dr. Imana. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Nikol. It's been an honor.